So why are developers sitting on a land pipeline? And key question is there a hidden supply crunch ahead? Well, this is Coach Edmund here, and today's update, we're going to explore a little bit on the developers. Why are they actually currently holding back on launching new projects or even purchasing the land in this case? So, in Singapore, as you know, that we are regularly pushing out land bank (GLS) for short for developers to purchase, and they are always being highlighted in terms of the confirm or reserve list that we have access in URA website. So today with high land prices, various cooling measures, and of course the uncertainty of buyers' demand, I believe a lot of developers are taking a wait and see approach. And based on the recent government land sales GLS exercise from 2024, mid 2024, reveal that actually there are some prime land in Singapore. They are not exactly attracting the competitive bids from developers as we expected, whereas the mass market plots are actually seeing very good interest. So in this short note, that I'm going to break down the numbers, the timeline, so that you have an idea where the market is heading to at this moment. So let us understand a little bit first. Let me give you a quick overview. So between the May-June period of 2024, right, there was actually a Marina South site, which is Marina Gardens Crescent area, right? It actually received only one bidder, and that is from Guaco Land. Okay, it's a consortium led by Guaco Land, and they only just bid $984 per square foot. Okay, so this was actually very low, and this was rejected by the government. So a lot of times when we are looking at land bank, we also have to understand government does play a part in terms of controlling the prices, so that you will not be underpriced or overpriced for this instance. And why do I bring this out? Because this land was bidded at about $984 per square foot, and it was rejected, mah. You see, so if you can recall, there is a previous bid under the same Marina Gardens area. And if you have been following the news, you will know that that is our current launch. That is Marina OMG, okay, One Marina Gardens. Right, so this was actually bidded by Kingsford Group in last year, 2024 as well. And it was bidded at a price point of 1,402 per square foot per PPR, and they bidded almost 30% higher than the last rejected bid. So you can imagine if Kingsford already bought the land for 1,402, will Guaco Land be able to purchase the land at such a low price of $984 per square foot? So I believe Guaco Land also is maybe trying their luck, that they wanted to come in with a lower bid so that they can actually do the same thing that they have done for Lentor as well as Bugis area, where they own multiple lands and they have full control of the entire area. Of course, that is not the case because government is still holding on to the land pricing and everything. All right, so of course, moving forward after that, we also have the River Valley Green Parcel A, which is a very prime site along Great World City. And this only saw two bids, and the highest bid came in about $1,325 per square foot, which we are definitely seeing it launching very soon. And something that I want to also highlight is during the 2024 period, there were also a lot of very interesting sites, especially the Bayshore GLS. So this was also one of the very popular site where it actually took about 8 bids all in all. But let's say we look at something very close nearby, where the GLS for the Lakeside MRT. Okay, so it was just recently announced that CDL actually achieved the land at $1,132 per square foot per PPR, which means for that land in Lakeside area, we are definitely seeing at least 1,009 to crossing $2,000 per square foot in terms of their launching prices later on. So we are seeing that for the first half of 2025, there will be an increased private supply up to maybe about 8,500 units. So this has also a impact that we're going to understand a little bit more. So why this so? Because you see, when there are a lot of high land prices and there was not a lot of there's low bidding in certain sites, right? So this also highlights that today where the developers movement is going to. All right, so this is also a clear indication of where the market is moving towards. If today we are seeing a lot of bidders into the prime area and lesser in the mass market, then in the next 1 to 2 years, we may be seeing a certain shift in terms of consumer behavior because there's not enough in those areas. And I believe why are some of the developers holding back in terms of going into some of the locations is also because of the cooling measures and also financing constraints. We are not in the best economy at the moment. There's a lot of noises out there, although Singapore fundamentally is still very safe through our cooling measures that we have. Indirectly have a protection bubble in terms of financing, in terms of our loan capability, and also our cash flow. So this actually, towards the developer, they are a little bit more concerned because they don't just like us purchase one unit, right? They have so many units that they need to sell. So they, although they have 5 years to sell off their property, there's always this uncertainty, this cloud, gray cloud that still lingers around the air, which makes a lot of developers extremely careful in terms of the acquisition for the next land. And this also indirectly also shifted our buyers' perspective, our preferences, and because due to market uncertainty, right? So while we yield for the upgrading process, many of us, perhaps because of all this uneasy economic situation, uncertainty, we may want to hold on to a lot of our plans until when things maybe becomes a little bit more safer, a little bit more certainty, then they will want to re-enter the market. And what does this tell us in terms of the overall land supply as well as demand? All right, so it's a chicken and egg situation. If let's say today a lot of the developers, after the government released the land and none of them actually went for the land, we may not feel the impact right now, but when there's a lesser supply of new properties in the marketplace over the next 2 to 3 years after they bid, then we will definitely see a supply crunch. All right, so because not enough supply, which means overall prices will eventually still creep up bit by bit. All right, so this is something that we have to look property at a longer term perspective. It's not about what the news is doing now and what is happening now. We would need to project it. If there is nobody buying land right now, which means in future the supply that currently is in the marketplace, which hovers around maybe about 14,000 to 15,000 available units, could be taken up in the next 2 to 3 years. Then we will start seeing a supply crunch, which means overall prices will eventually still hit up too. So this is something that I believe as a homeowner is our outright understanding that we need to, be aware of and not just purely looking at the newspaper and the headlines and just move ourselves towards it. So I believe that unless the market condition shifted to a more positive aspect, okay, so maybe through policy adjustments and there's some easing of certain financial constraints. All right, so if not, I believe the developer will definitely be more careful. They will look at their land bank. Do they have enough? What's their strategy for the next 3 to 5 years before they start coming back into the marketplace again? So a lot of the developers right now, they're holding on to quite a fair bit of land bank. Because they still need to sell off the current properties before they can acquire new land. So this prolonged delay eventually, all right, will transform Singapore into a property supply bottleneck. And this has happened before. Last seen very obviously was in COVID. All right, COVID time, because there was no there's no way that developers can build anything. So everything got delayed about 1.5 years to 2 years. And during that period, there was no land being purchased as well, which contributes to the supply chain that we're experiencing in 2021, 2022. And that's also one of the reasons why prices fly upwards because of the lack of supply. So what this happens because of the economic situation to the developers, where they have to put in a lot more investment, a lot more risk, it will definitely be a very tight transformation in terms of the supply bottleneck in time to come. And this is still to be seen whether are there anything that the developers will be actually making themselves a little bit more comfortable to purchase the land. Right, so these are some of the key things that I believe through the research and through the understanding we should be aware of as BC professionals and homeowners to this. All right, so in conclusion, with the high land prices, the uncertain buyer sentiment, I believe developers are holding back in terms of their purchase, and which means lesser launches in time to come. And this also give us a very critical clue about how future market trends is going to be. And this will definitely be to eventually also lead to a supply situation in future. All right, so I hope that today with this video and this voice note, you are able to understand a little bit more. So for any deeper dive into the trends, into numbers, into data and the research, do reach out. We will be able to do a detailed strategic insights on what you should be watching out for in upcoming market cycles. All right, so thanks for tuning in. I stay tuned and do make your smart property moves together with us. Cheers.